and CEO of STS Arabia فليتفضل. تفضل مهندس أيمن. أهلا. You do not have a presentation, sir, right? Nothing on screen. All right.
صباح الخير. اسمحوا لي دقيقتين. بالأمس خلال الكلمة اللي ألقيتها بحفل الافتتاح كان في فقرة من الكلمة اللي ألقيتها اللي كنت أتحدث عن الهجمات الإلكترونية المتزايدة خصوصا هذه السنة بال21 بالعالم بشكل عام، وإقليميا ذكرت بعض النسب والأرقام عن عدد الهجمات الإلكترونية اللي تعرضت إليها بعض الدول العربية ومنها الشقيقة سلطنة عمان. بحب أوضح أن اللي ذكرته وكنت دقيق عدد الهجمات الإلكترونية التي تعرضت لها وليس الاختراق. لم أقل أنه تم اختراق المنظومة الأمنية في تلك الدول وبالذات في سلطنة عمان. بالعكس، يعني تزايد عدد الهجمات وعدم النجاح بالاختراق هو مفخرة للشقيقة عمان ويدل على صلابة ومتانة المنظومة الأمنية فيها. بالمناسبة هذه الأرقام مستقاة صدرت بتقرير من شركة كاسبسكي الأمنية العالمية اللي بتعرفوها، اللي هي تنتج برامج أمنية ويتم العمل فيها بمعظم العالم، ونشرت في شهر 8/21. مرة ثانية اللي ذكرته محاولات ليس على الاختراق، في فرق وفي تفسير ليش ازدياد عدد المحاولات. واضح بال2021 جائحة كورونا فرضت على الدول أن يقوموا بحجر إلى الفضاء الإلكتروني نسميه أونلاين، والدول اللي حافظت وكان لديها منظومة أمنية قوية تمكنت من نقل لأعمالها بسلاسة، ولم نسمع عن أي اختراق هام أو رئيسي في منطقتنا. فهذا يعني speaks well زي ما قلنا على المنظومة الأمنية وبالذات في سلطنة عمان. وبعتقد أنه إحنا يجب في الأردن أن نستفيد من هاي الخبرة الغنية. حبيت أوضح وطلب يعني ارتأيت من هالمنصة أوضح اللي ذكر امبارح لتوضيح وللاعتذار إذا حصل في أي التباس في فهم ما أردت أن أقوله. وشكرا والسلام عليكم.
And I want to pay tribute to the organizers. association with the British government, and I do some work to support British Aerospace, one of the UK's leading cyber companies. So today I want to give a British perspective on some of the most important factors that go to make a country a leader in cybersecurity. I want to pull out some lessons from the British experience, which may be relevant to other countries. You know, every country has to find the approach to cyber that works for that country, but I think some of the principles do apply more widely. And in particular, I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about the role of government in providing strategy and leadership and energy to build cybersecurity nationally. I want to talk about the need to develop what I call a cyber defense ecosystem to protect the country from cyber attacks. And finally, I want to talk about a whole-of-nation response to the challenge of cyber. So how do we bring together all elements of the country in cyber defense? But I just want to start with a few thoughts on the threat picture from a UK perspective. Now, we're all here today. It's obvious to all of us our dependence on the internet and internet-based technology. The pandemic has just reinforced that. It's enabled us to carry on working and living in a way that would have been inconceivable even a few years ago. But of course, with that dependence and with the opportunities that come with digitization and the digital agenda, which is absolutely essential to all of our nations now, whether it's government or the private sector, with those great opportunities come the risks that we see in cyber. And I think in the UK we are seeing, over the course of this year, some very worrying trends in the cyber threat. First of all, there is the threat posed by nation states, countries of all kinds, who are using cyber espionage, other means of exploiting cyber to further their interests. In the last 12 months, we've seen two very, very significant cyber espionage, cyber spying events, of course, both of them supply chain operations, as we call it. The SolarWinds operation, widely attributed to Russia, and the operation exploiting weaknesses in Microsoft Exchange Server technology, widely attributed to China. And that Microsoft Exchange Server attack was described by our National Cybersecurity Centre in the UK as, and I quote, the most significant and widespread cyber intrusion against the UK and allies uncovered to date. So it's a very, very significant operation. And these operations are showing nation states that are very bold. They're launching global cyber spying campaigns with thousands of victims in the public sector and the private sector worldwide. They're successfully targeting and exploiting some of the world's leading technology companies to enable worldwide espionage at scale. And the ability to deter these kind of operations, to persuade countries from not doing them, that's not being very successful. And we tend to talk about the typical set of countries that are involved in these operations. Wider than that, all kinds of countries are doing this now. And although much more rare than spying operations through cyber, we also remain concerned in the UK about nations looking to use cyber for disruptive effect on critical national examples of this, but examples do exist. You know, cyber disruption to power supplies, attempts to disrupt water treatment plants, attempts to disrupt petrochemical plants. And of course, we also have nations using cyber to spread misinformation or to create a lack of trust in our governments. And this is a serious issue. Then we have cybercrime, which is a huge growing business. Now, from the UK, it's not always nation states in the past. So the ransomware attack on the American software company Kaseya in July affected over 1,000 different companies. All of the customers of that company were affected by this attack. And that might be the shape of things to come. The EU's cyber agency, ENISA, has predicted a fourfold increase in supply chain attacks over 2021. And we're also seeing criminals targeting critical infrastructure. So you'll be familiar with the Colonial Pipeline attack in the US, a pipeline providing nearly half of fuel supplies to the American East Coast that the company had to shut down or decided to shut down as a result of a cyber attack. And JBS Foods, which accounts for over a quarter of American meat supplies, also seriously disrupted by a ransomware attack. And these incidents show that even quite simple criminal ransomware attacks affecting just the administrative IT of an organization can have a significant operational effect. They can cause operations to stop working. So attackers don't have to use complex attacks targeting industrial control systems to have a real-world effect on the operations of our critical infrastructure. So this is not just about stealing bits of data. And then beyond that, we face a much broader set of issues about technology and our technology supply chains. The fact that our technology comes from an increasingly diverse range of suppliers globally, that China is becoming a center for innovation in technology in a way it wasn't before, that perhaps countries like the United States are losing some of that lead. And it's much harder for us to guarantee or to assess the security of the technology that we're acquiring. So how do we be sure that the technology that we're using for our digital economies is safe and secure and well made? Now, in the UK, we're addressing this by developing a framework that we've called an Own, Collaborate, Access model for the development of critical technologies. So we either lead the development of that technology ourselves, and we need to do a lot more of that, or we collaborate with trusted partners in other countries to build new technology, or if we can't do either of those, we have to have a really strict risk management approach to acquiring new technology from other countries and other suppliers. So taken together, we've got a really concerning threat picture. Nations doing espionage at scale, a cybercrime boom, the globalization of technology raising serious challenges as to how we secure our supply chain. And at the same time, we have this relentless and vital digital expansion agenda, which is fundamental to our prosperity and the prosperity of all of our nations. So it's a challenging time, I think. So I want to talk now about what I think are some of the most important components that go to make a nation, any nation, a true leader in cyber, responding to these sorts of challenges. And as I said, I want to focus on the role of government, I want to focus on how we build cyber defense, and I want to focus on how we bring the nation together. So I'll start with the role of government, and government is absolutely essential in setting the agenda and initiating kind of vital work to strengthen a nation's cybersecurity. And that's a lesson that we in the UK have learned the hard way. You know, our first serious national cyber strategy was 10 years ago, in 2011. And at that time, we saw a relatively limited role for government. We thought government should do the things that only governments can do. So gather intelligence on cyber threats, build up our cyber law enforcement, our cyber crime organizations. But otherwise, we thought that market forces in the economy would drive up standards of cybersecurity, that companies would have to invest in goods. Now, in reality, that did not happen. We did not see the market forces driving up cyber standards in the way that we needed. And we still have a problem with that, I think. So our current cyber strategy, written in 2016, took a very, very different approach. It was a much more interventionist strategy by government. It involved a central role in government in leading a wide range of initiatives across the whole spectrum of cybersecurity, with significant investment and a serious implementation plan. And I don't think that is going to change anytime soon. So we have a national cybersecurity program covering activities including building national defense, strengthening law enforcement, developing skills and education in cyber, boosting cyber research and development, supporting innovation in technology, and helping to build a strong commercial sector in cyber. And that's backed up by nearly £2 billion of funding over 5 years in Britain just for these transformational cyber initiatives. And central government needs to drive forward the implementation of that programme to make sure that things actually happen and changes and improvements really take root. And part of that is government needs to have a really deep understanding of the vulnerabilities in its critical national infrastructure, whether in government or in the private sector. And government needs to set policy and strategy around cyber and develop cyber technical standards. And technical standards are a vital part of strong cybersecurity. You know, we need to ensure that cybersecurity requirements are built into all kinds of technical standards for all kinds of technology, and that those standards are implemented effectively. And this is an international issue. You know, cyber standards are set in multiple different international bodies, and it's really important for countries to be an active player on that scene. Regulation, I think, is also a key part of the policy picture, particularly in the countries like the UK, where most of our CNI, our critical infrastructure, is in the private sector. So we've done a lot of, our government has done a lot of encouragement of the private sector to raise standards, and that's had an effect, but it's never going to be enough. So good cyber regulation for our key sectors, I think, is important, and we've done some of that for our critical infrastructure sectors, for our financial services sectors. We're introducing new regulation for our telecommunications sector on cybersecurity, and I think we'll see more regulation coming. Now, regulation is a double-edged sword. If it's not done well, it can be a waste of time, it can become very bureaucratic, and actually it won't improve your overall cybersecurity. But if it's led by cyber experts and people who actually understand how the sectors that they're regulating work, then I think it can be a powerful lever, a powerful way to improve national cyber standards. And finally, on the government piece, I just want to say something about governance. So having effective national governance for cybersecurity is really important. Again, it needs to be adapted to how each country works, but there needs to be a focal point for cyber strategy and policy, clear ministerial leadership, effective coordination across government, and effective response to cyber incidents. And critically, this needs to involve collaboration with the private sector. We need a cyber defence ecosystem, so we need to bring together a strong central capability to understand the threats to our country in real time and work out what we do about them. In Britain, we do that through the National Cyber Security Centre, which has been one of the great successes of our strategy. And I think in any country, having a national centre for cyber, understanding the threat, monitoring the threat, responding to the most significant national incidents is really important. Now, of course, the National Centre cannot be responsible for cyber security for all parts of government and all parts of the critical infrastructure. But it has to be a central hub to understand the threat and respond to the most significant incidents. And there has to be a single lead there. And I think that's a lesson we learnt in Britain. We used to have many different organisations leading on cyber. It was very confusing. So we created our national centre, which made things much, much clearer. But there needs to be a whole of government response here as well. So every part of government has a role to play. The armed forces has a huge role to play in cyber security. You know, defending our specialist military systems, defending our platforms, which of course are increasingly digitised, having the ability to operate in coalitions with coalition partners. All of these things need really strong cybersecurity, and they need special capabilities that meet the needs of the armed forces. And that's a key responsibility in national cyber. And then the final thing I want to talk about is this idea of a whole of society or a whole of nation response on cybersecurity. So I've talked a lot about the role of government in setting the strategy, in implementing change, in leading the way. I've talked about the need for a national centre. I've talked about the need for armed forces to develop their own cyber defence capabilities, to defend their systems and networks. But the role of government is only one part of the answer, and things go way beyond government. The private sector is absolutely essential, whether it's banks or power companies, or whether it's the private sector that's developing cyber products and services. And so we need to find really effective ways of government and the private sector working together to deliver national cyber defence. And the universities and the research sector is crucial. You know, we need strong universities that are developing new insights in cyber technology, new insights in ways of protecting ourselves from cyber attacks. So universities need to build and prioritize cyber into their research work and build and grow expertise. And that's true of the education sector more widely. You know, we need to see technology and cyber very strongly built into our education systems in our schools. And of course, we all need a strong cyber industry in our countries. In the UK, we depend on our private sector for a huge amount of our cyber security. So we need to have those really good cyber companies. We need to have ways of encouraging innovation, whether that's in universities or in startups. We need to find ways of pulling through that innovation through the use of accelerators, through helping startups to grow, connecting them with funding, all of that. And that's a really essential part of our cyber defence. It's a big challenge. I think in the UK, you know, we've got a good cyber sector. We need to see more of our startups growing into larger companies, but it's something that every country needs to have, its own cybersecurity sector. And then finally, there's the role of the citizen. You know, cyberspace is the place where we all live and work, and the citizen, the individual member of the public, is our first line of defence. So they need to understand their responsibilities and what they can do to protect us all from cyber attack. This year, the UK government's going to be issuing its new cyber strategy in a few weeks' time. I can't talk about the details of that, but I'm confident that we will see a strong focus on this whole-of-nation response to make sure that we can exploit the opportunities of new technology. And I'm sure that our National Cyber Centre will be at the heart of that, and our armed forces will be investing even more in their cyber defences. So I think the things I've talked about today, a clear government lead in cyber with a strategy and a funded plan, a strong cyber defence ecosystem that can gather intelligence on cyber attacks, monitor what's going on, understand the threat to the country and respond to it, and a whole-of-nation response bringing together government, private sector, education system, universities and the citizen are critical building blocks. And finally, it's great to see Jordan leading the way in so many of these areas. You know, there's a long-standing focus on cyber strategy here and a clear recognition of the need to keep refreshing your cyber strategy and adapting it to responding to the changing environment. You've established a National Cyber Centre. You've got great investments across your government. You've got a really exciting university sector and a cyber industry, a private sector cyber industry that's very vibrant. And of course, you have a great international role. And I think that puts Jordan in a fantastic position as a country, in the region, and much broader internationally, to play a leadership role in the cyber agenda. And that cyber agenda is more fundamental than ever before to the prosperity of all of us and to all of our national security. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Conrad Prince, CB, from Bay Systems Applied Intelligence, for that valuable keynote address about what makes a nation a cyber leader, and for the valuable information regarding the experience of the British government and private sector. Thank you very much. أرحب بكم جميعا مرة أخرى. Welcoming you all again to the second day of Aidtsec. And now I'm going to move on to our next speaker. أقدم لكم متحدثنا التالي. Dr. معتز دبعي, Senior Territory Manager, Oracle Corporation. The topic is Big Data and Data Science for Data-Driven Innovations. فليتفضل الدكتور معتز الدبعي لنرحب به جميعا. وين هو معتز الدبعي؟ قلقتني دكتور يعني لمدة ثانية.
نخلف الأضواء.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, sir. تفضل دكتور.
صباح الخير جميعا. Good morning to all. I'm glad to be with all of you today. And also I would like to thank the organizers of the management of SOFIX to give me this opportunity to give this keynote speech about big data and data science as a representative of Oracle Corporation. Indeed, today we are witnessing a tremendous change in the IT industry. The IT landscape has significantly changed. The main reason for that is the emergence of the disruptive technologies, or what we call innovative technologies. It's indeed disruptive, as it has its own impact on the way in which we live our lives and the way in which we do our business. For many leaders in the technology domain, it's these disruptive technologies as a challenge, and at the same time, it's an opportunity. It's a challenge that they don't know exactly the way or the right way to deal with it, how to exploit it. Is there any guaranteed value coming out of these investments? Are we investing in the right way? When we talk about cybersecurity, when we talk about data science, when we talk about blockchain technologies, augmented reality, all these types of disruptive technologies, there is no guaranteed success. There is no recipe that we can all follow, a predefined process that can guarantee success. So the risk is high. And when the risk becomes higher, we stop and start thinking about the ROI, the return on investments. Unfortunately, there is no recipe or there is no predefined process that I can provide you with. But at Oracle, we have done our own research, and we have some sort of guidelines that tells how the future business should look like. What are the main features that would make any business in the future or in the present successful? These 5 features that I will talk about today briefly, and I will focus on one of them, which is a data-driven business. How to transform your organization, whether a government or a private sector, from a traditional one into a data-driven one. This is the key of our success in the future, and it's one major element that is needed at the governmental side and also in the private sector. Please bear with me for a few seconds to make sure that I have the clicker so I can move the slides on. I'll continue speaking while he's managing the IT stuff.
Please go ahead and continue.
Yeah.
Your valuable presentation.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
For different technology leaders at the governmental sector and also at the private sector, they need to make sure that their business is sustainable and they can grow it. They need to make sure that data is secured. They need also to make sure that the data is intact and only accessible by the authorized people. So for doing all that and to make sure that they can get the maximum value from the investments in these disruptive technologies, they have to follow the 5 guidelines by Oracle. I believe the first guideline or the first main trait is human. Everything we do in terms of technology should be customer-centric, citizen-centric, if we're talking about the government. Should meet the expectations of our customers, should meet the expectations of our citizens. And this is supported by different technologies. The second main trait is being trusted. And now, trust has a multifaceted aspects or vectors. The first one is the trust in the technology itself, the trust in the provider of that technology, trust in the channel through which the data is communicated, and trust also in the way the data is processed, the way the data is handled. We have seen the importance of trust when we witnessed COVID-19. Most of our problems that we faced were because of trust. People are not vaccinated because of trust. People, they don't do the required actions because of trust. So trust is a major factor, not only in technology, but in the whole life. Great. So the third thing that I'll talk about after trusted and human is the autonomous. Autonomous, as you know, is the highest level of automation, and here we talk about not only autonomous vehicles, but for example, at Oracle, we have reached at a point where we deliver an autonomous database. It's a self-provisioning, self-securing, and self-healing databases that can manage itself by itself. So the role of DBAs has become very minimal. And this is a way we believe that technology should become. The second technology that supports also the autonomous feature is the robotics process automation. Now we have many technologies related to automate business processes. So we eliminate the human factor, such as the data entry or collecting data from one website and then entering that data into a system, processing that data, generating a report, and then sending that report to the authorized people. This complete process can be done automatically using robotics process automation. The fourth one is connected. Now we are no more talking about silos. We're trying to integrate everything, applications, databases. Everything should be integrated within the ecosystem. We connect with partners, we connect with other countries, we connect with the private sector, all of them supported by different technologies such as open APIs and also the Internet of Things, the IoTs, and the blockchain technology. The fifth one is the data-driven, which is the main focus of this keynote. I'll spend the rest of this keynote talking about how to transform your organization from traditional one into data-driven one. So my focus for today's keynote will be how to become a data-driven organization. Just simply put, the main difference between traditional organization and data-driven organization, whether we're talking about the government or the private sector, is one key small thing. Is the way we make decisions, the way we take actions. If we rely mainly on our intuitions, gut feelings, personal experiences, while we are making decisions, and we follow this rule of thumb all the time, then I believe we are still a traditional organization. The change is when we become relying heavily on data and the outcome of data in terms of actionable insights. The knowledge created after analyzing the data that has value and can be operationalized. We can put it into action. We can make decisions based on that. There's a rule called 80-20 rule. In the traditional business, 80% of the decision is based on our intuition, gut feeling, and personal judgments. And 20%, if there is any, will be relying on the collected data and information. When we transform into a data-driven business, then the equation will become the other way around. 80% of our decision is based on the data and the outcome of data in terms of actionable insights, and 20% will be based on our intuition, personal experiences, gut feeling, and judgments. This is the main difference. But this simple difference would require different actions to be taken place at the organizational level. Not only from a technological perspective, but also from other aspects related to business process and related to culture. I'm not coming from a school that believes that we can throw technologies at problems. Technology for me is not a magic. Technology cannot solve all the problems without any human interference in terms of top management support, in terms of how to manage the change in the organization, in terms of how to operationalize the actionable insights. One of the major and important factors in data science that are neglected by many organizations are the operationalization of the actionable insight. What does that mean? We bring data, collect data, aggregate it, summarize it, prepare it, store it, analyze it, and then we discover the actionable insights. But if these actionable insights are not put into action, are not operationalized, so there is no value realized. The main problem is that thinking about it is only an IT project or data science project without thinking about the operationalization in terms of business process re-engineering. Sometimes you need to re-engineer some or certain business processes to accommodate the new way of making decisions using the actionable insights. Sometimes you have to work on the culture of the organization to be accepting of such a data-driven decision-making policy. So it's a strategy, it's a policy, it's a culture within the organization supported by technology and enabled by technology. And I'll talk also about different kinds of technologies that would be relevant to what I'm saying about in this keynote. All right. The other problem that I believe I'm seeing in the region, and maybe in the whole world, is dealing with data science project as a cool project. It's a data experiment. Let's play with the data and see what's going to come out of it. We don't have a clear vision of what we are going to achieve. For any data science project, we should follow the reverse engineering approach. What does that mean? We should start with the target use case. What are we trying to do? If we are a bank, are we doing like LTV, lifetime value for our customers? Are we predicting the default customers? If you are a telecom, are we aiming to predict the churners? If you are a government, are we trying to understand the DNA of a criminal or to criminology phases in different types of crimes? So what we are trying to aim, and based on what we are trying to aim in terms of analytical use case, then we decide what kind of data should we collect, whether it's internal or external, how it should be processed, and what kind of algorithms should be used. Most of people, when we talk about data science, they only think if they know how to program in Python or R, then they are ready to become data scientists. But data science is more about subject matter expertise, domain knowledge, and such. We have different data scientists specialized in different domains, in different areas, even within the same sector. So it's very specialized and very narrow domain of knowledge. So we cannot just thinking about data science as a cool science experiment or just as a technology or a way of programming or a way of writing algorithms. You might find the best one writing algorithms in R or Python, but cannot get provided with the value. At the end of the day, all leaders at the government sector, all the business sector, they're looking for value. What kind of business benefits that I'm getting out of this investment? I'm not having it as a cool thing to have. So the value that I'm talking about, at the government sector, we talk about the homeland security. The value could come in the form of quality of life for our citizens. The value could come as enhancing the security level for different data sources that we have got in our own data stores. If we talk about business organizations, this value comes in three forms. It's either insights by which I can increase my revenues, or insights by which I can be more efficient in terms of cost reduction, or insights by which I can be in a better shape when it comes to compliance and regulations. These are the value elements that we're getting from any data science project, whether we're talking about the government or we're talking about the private sector. So again, emphasizing that data science, it's not only, we don't need it as a cool science project. We need to see the results and we need to see the value of these results. And I'll talk more about how we form a team in order to conduct data science exercises in a while. I'll give you two relevant examples to this important conference to understand more what I mean by actionable insights and how the results of data science can be helpful to different organizations. This is an example or use case that has been implemented by Los Angeles Police Department, by which they don't rely on the past only to dispatch their cars or their forces in different areas. They try to predict different types of crimes and where these crimes would be happening, and accordingly they will be dispatching and sending the forces and different vehicles or different resources needed in order to try to prevent that crime from happening or to respond as quickly as possible at the geographical area of that crime. And there's also this supported by a heat map for different types of crimes, and you can see the heat map, and you can see currently the current situation of the crimes at different geographical areas. This is one of the applications of the data science in the police departments, in the Los Angeles Police Department. So that would make us very preventive and agile ability to respond quickly to all the changes happening in our environment. The second use case that I'm sharing with you today is regarding the National Health Service in the UK. The National Health Service in the UK, they started a project with Oracle for data science to predict the fraud coming from dentists and doctors, because they believe that the number of claims coming is over or beyond what was expected. They found out that some of the dentists and some of the doctors, they make 80 fillings per hour. That means they can see a patient and write the prescription, all right, in less than a minute, which is nonsense. Accordingly, and also by linking that data to other data related to the location of the doctor, location of the patient, fillings happening at the same time, they could make, by the first year of operations, a saving of 1 billion. Just in 1 year of operation, they made a saving of 1 billion pounds in the first year, which was in 2018. By predicting frauds and avoiding that fraud from happening in the future. Imagine how that affected the UK economy. Imagine that for a small country like Jordan. If we can just avoid fraud and avoid money spent in unneeded certain or aspects, that would make a huge impact in our economy, given that we are a very small country, and we need each and every penny to be invested in the right way and to be invested in the right location. All right. So, what is my view and Oracle's view about data science and big data, and how should organizations tackle such projects? We believe that there are three main vectors as guidelines for successful data science exercises. The first vector or aspect is related to the capability. Here, when we talk about the capability, one element within the capability is the technology itself. For example, we need a technology through which we can extract data from different data sources and then store that data or load it into the data warehouse or Hadoop big data ecosystem. That would be called ETL or ELT. At Oracle, we have ODI, Oracle Data Integrator, Oracle Golden Gate, but there are other products by other vendors also that can do the ETL job. Then we have to have the technology related to the data store. This could be Hadoop-based or could be a DBMS, like a data warehouse. Also, we have to have a way to analyze data through Python, R, Oracle Data Visualization, Oracle Data Science Platform, and then to present them in a user-friendly and visualized manner to the end user. This is a technology which represents only one element of the capability. But this is not enough. By having all these technologies, all this ecosystem of technology, you are not having a data science or big data platform. Still, the second element that you need is the data. If you don't have enough data, in terms of depth and breadth, all that investment is a nice investment, but has no value. The data, the depth of the data is about how back you go with your data, how many years you go back. So if you have data for 3 years, or 10 years, or 20 years, the more data you have, the more historical data you have, the higher is the probability of having a successful or useful actionable insights. The second element of data is the breadth of data. Now, we are no longer relying on our internal data, the data that comes and store through our HCM, CRM, different TPS systems internally within the organization. We need to be connected. We need also to understand the context. We are not living in a black box. So we need to have relevant data from the environment. Relevant data for the government could be from the borders of our neighbors, other countries. Could be also from the private sector, from the telecommunications sector. Could be from the financial sector. So we need all relevant external data also to be integrated and accumulated within our internal data. The third element of the capability, which is the most important, is the human resource element. We need a data-savvy workforce. We need people, those understanding how to collect data, how to process and prepare data, how to analyze data, how to get the useful, actionable insights that are aligned with the strategic objectives of our government or organization, and how to put these actionable insights into action, how to operationalize them, and to integrate them within our own business processes. So, three elements within the capability. One of them only is the technology. The main myth from my own perspective is focusing on technology and neglecting other aspects of the capability, which are data and the human aspect. Now in Jordan, we have very limited resources when we talk about data engineers, when we talk about data scientists, when we talk about data visualization experts. I have my own experience in employing, training, enabling different people, and then jumping from one organization to another within like 6 months. Why? The demand is high, but the supply is too low. So we need our universities to take part in educating our students in the domains of cybersecurity and data science. And this is happening now. But this is happening from an academic perspective. I can't see a role the private sector is playing within the universities in enabling these people. What I believe is that there should be professional or industrial professors coming from the industry, teaching at the universities, people studying or students enrolling in the cybersecurity, data science, and big data. We cannot rely only on the academics to come. With all respect, I used to be an academic, by the way. I'm a professor at the University of Jordan. But I'm on unpaid leave since 7 years. All right? So I'm into that position. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to academia. We need a blended learning, not online and face-to-face learning. We need a blended learning between industrial professors and academics to teach such students, to make them ready for the market, and to be able to contribute from day one. The second vector, or the second element, is the mindset, the culture within the organization. And especially here we talk about the governmental sector or public sector. Leaders should have belief in the outcome of data science exercises, in the actionable insights. They should start changing the way they make decisions. Leaders at different levels, tactical level, operational level, or at the strategic level. They have to have a policy, a procedure to incorporate these outcomes into their own business processes. This is the culture that we're talking about. We start to understand that such projects, they are not IT projects. Such projects, they make radical and fundamental changes to the way in which we do business. So there should be people involved in such projects from different sectors and from different departments. The third one is the discipline, is to have a pre-defined process, to have it institutionalized, whether for data collection, data processing, actionable insights, operationalization, everything should be institutionalized and disciplined through business processes. So just to highlight what I've said, in terms of technology, the technological element that you need is an batching, streaming, technology or ETL technology for data integration, for data storing preparation. You need a data store in terms of data warehouse or data lake, which is the Hadoop-based data store. You need also technologies related to data science, to data analytics, in terms of Python, R, the data science platform, MATLAB, and also we can make applications related to data science in terms of mobile application, web application. This is the technological elements that I was talking about, and here it's presented in a more visualized manner for you to understand the way we collect data, different shapes from different sources, the way we collect them and store them in the Hadoop ecosystem, which is called the data lake, the way we analyze them and then present them to different users to get the value out of it and to put it into action and to make decisions based on these actionable insights. If this is also another way to look at the high-level architecture of the big data technology, but in here, the data lake is also can be integrated with the data warehouse. So the question of whether we need a data warehouse or data lake, you might need both. And definitely, I don't want to dig deeper now, talking about the main differences between both of them. But usually, at the highest level of maturity, you need to have both the data lake and the data warehouse as an analytical data stores for your systems. The elements that is related to the human part, I would like you to look at here at the main characteristics or traits of data scientists. Most of them are personal traits. So data scientists by nature, they should be skeptical. Curious. They would like to know more. The best gift for them is a set of data. They need to be communicative in order to be able to communicate the results to decision makers in business terms, to make it relevant and what kind of actions can be done by that. And also, they need to know some technical aspects related to big data, AI, machine learning, and data science technologies. These kind of characteristics hardly can be found within only one person. So because of that, usually we form a data science team. A key element of the data science team is the subject matter expert. If we talk about homeland security, so part of the team should be people. They have knowledge and deep knowledge in homeland security to understand what kind of data, the value of data, what kind of insights that are not trivial, that are really useful, and we can make actions, real actions based on them. So we need subject matter experts. We need people understanding big data technologies, AI, machine learning, to write algorithms, and to transfer that knowledge into an algorithm from the subject matter expert. We need other people, could be managers, could be like some sort of skeptical, telling you, can we do the experiment again? Can we try a competing models to make sure that we have the highest level of accuracy, the highest recall, the highest precision? Are we not overfitting the training data? So you need skeptical people in order to come with reliable and robust results at the end of the day. So that's why we at Oracle, we form a team coming from different backgrounds, with different experiences, to have a data science team. So at the end, in my keynote, I would like to highlight the three main elements of success for any big data and data science technology, data science project. First is the capability. Capability is the technology. Capability is the data. And capability is the human resources needed, the data savvy workforce. The second element or vector is the mindset in terms of the culture, organizational culture, and the way we accept such a transformation in our organization or government. And the third one is the discipline in terms of institutionalization of different business processes required either to collect data, to process data, to discover knowledge, or to operationalize that knowledge within our environment. I would like to thank you all, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mu'taz Dibri from Oracle Corporation. Shukran, Dr. Mu'taz. We're having a very strong morning. Thank you for the keynote. Thank you very much. Moving on, we now have a plenary session. Nadwa, لدينا الندوة تحت عنوان Digital Transformation Strategies استراتيجيات التحول الرقمي. For this plenary session, first I would like to invite our moderator for this panel, Mr. Amjad Abdallah, CEO Beyond Limits, also known as AJ. And our four panelists. His Excellency Mr. Bilal Hafnawi, Commissioner and full-time board member at the Telecommunications Regulation Commission, TRC. حياك الله بلال. تفضل. Mr. Nicola Fanous, Digital Products and Transformation Director from Orange, Jordan. معنا الأخ نيكولا. وراي. Professor إسماعيل حنطي. الدكتور إسماعيل حنطي. President of الحسين Technical University HTU. أهلا وسهلا. And Mr. Baptiste Kazagou, Head of Public Safety National Security at Microsoft Middle East and Africa. Mr. Baptiste, are you with us today? While they sit down, في أثناء جلوسهم وهم يجلسون، أدعوكم جميعا لنحيي النشامة والنشميات في جيشنا العربي وفي مديرية الأمن العام والأجهزة الحاضرين معنا اليوم. نعطيهم تحية جميعا. وشكرا لجهودكم. We are leading a chair. Excellent. You can grab. Thank you for being a dynamic solution maker, sir. Thank you very much. We will get the chair.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. I'm excited to have a great session with very distinguished speakers and thought leaders that represent academia, regulatory government agencies, and the industry to talk about an important topic like digital transformation. So I'd like to start a little bit about your background and share with us from a regulatory point of view how do you define digital transformation specifically as it relates to business, the economy, and even countries.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this panel. As a definition for digital transformation, as you know, it's a wide definition. So it's a fundamental change in the process, in the mindset, in the culture, in the business models. So we need to think about digital transformation as a journey. So we need to think about it as a journey. What is our target for this journey? What is our vision? And how are we moving to reach that vision? What are our strategies and what is the roadmap that we need to select to reach that vision? In digital transformation strategy, we need to focus on three elements in our journey. The first element is the people. The second element is the business itself. And the third element is the technology. So in the first part, in the people, we need to focus on the skills, how we need to grow the skills, how we need to enhance the skills for the people, soft skills, digital skills, meta skills. And also we need to think about organization structure, how we change our organization structure instead of being discrete or disconnected silos. Instead of that, we need to have cross-functional teams that are integrated with each other. And the third part, which is very important, and as mentioned Dr. Mu'taz, the culture. We need to think about culture here, about insight-driven culture, about data-driven culture, and we need to think about collaborative structure and culture and to have innovation structure, that we need to have people to innovate. This is a general definition that we could use both in public and in private. We are speaking here about strategy, and we need to think about what we need to do in the public sector and what we need to do in the private sector. The second part, which is important, is the business. We need to think about business models. What is the value of our change, and what is the customer experience that we need to have after this change. And we need to think about internal processes, how to change those processes to reach our target for the transformation. And the third important element, which is technology. We need to think about using the proper technology to utilize the proper change, meeting our vision. So we need to seek the proper technology that meet our vision. This is an inclusive definition that we need to think about the three elements: people, business, and technology. As a government, we are working as a TRC, Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, and joint with the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship. So there are some strategies or some policies being defined from the Modi, and we are defining our instructions to implement those strategies and implement those policies. So we have so far 5 policies generated. We have the open data policy, data classification policy, entrepreneurship policy, a cloud computing policy, and artificial intelligence policy. These are already announced, and many people have contributed to these policies. From TRC part, we are working with instructions. So far, we had many instructions matching the digital transformation needs. Like we have IXP, which is Internet Exchange Point, which implemented, which enhanced the market and opened the door to open a new IXP provider in Aqaba, which used to have an agreement with Google to have Google pass through Jordan, which serves the region and Jordan. Second part, which is instructions for the Internet of Things. Also, we have instructions for number plan change. Also, we have blockchain policy instructions under preparation, and then the final touches. And we have like an interaction with the market. Whenever we have a new topic, we can make consultation and get the feedback from the market, so we can get the best of that technology and work as a regulator in the way of enhancing the way to have technology instead of implementing the technology. You know, we are in the early stages. We're still moving forward in the digital transformation. So this is a dynamic work that to be interactive between the public and the private sector, and we are getting feedback from the market for any change that we could do to enhance the technology and to facilitate moving towards digital transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now I'd like to ask Professor Ismail. You represent academia here. I mean, we heard a lot through the entire conference about data. Data is very, very important. I also believe in the human element. So, Professor Ismail, if you could share a little bit about your background, I would ask you the same question. If you can share with us, explain why digital transformation matters, especially to those in Jordan and the region. And we'd like to know specifically what you're doing in terms of preparing the human capital and human element.
Thank you, AJ. It's a great pleasure to be with you all this morning. Just to share, as you asked, very brief about my background. I'm the president of Al Hussein Technical University since December last year. So I'm quite new in this position. I have about 20 years of experience in research and academia, and as an entrepreneur and as a CEO in the private sector in the fields of energy, renewable energy, and green technologies. When we speak about digital transformation, I think we need to remain focused on where do we want to go. Is digital transformation our goal, or is it an enabler for something larger than that, which is developing the human capital and creating more opportunities for economic growth? I think in Jordan, digital transformation is of immense importance to the country, to the nation, because first of all, we have talented and highly qualified, highly ambitious human capital. When you look at this conference, for example, the young people you see, the young people you meet, they're full of energy, they're talented, and we have to always remember, maybe those who are on the stage today, we belong to a different generation from the completely different from the generation Z that we have in the university. Those young people are tech savvy. They were born in the digital age, and we have to respond to this. We have to create opportunities, opportunities to solve the challenges that we're facing in Jordan. When we look at transport, when we look at energy, when we look at water, when we consider unemployment, I think it is a must for us to embrace digital transformation as a pathway or as an approach to maximize the opportunities to solve these challenges and to create sustainable economic growth.
Thank you, Professor. I can tell you in the U.S. we're having challenges with Generation Z, and we're setting all our HR requirements right now. Not my generation, your generation, but Generation Z, which I believe in Generation Z. I think they're going to do great things. Nicola, I'm going to ask you the same question. Can you just give us a little brief background on yourself? And this time I'm going to ask you, can you talk a little bit about the barriers that you see that organizations are facing in terms of achieving digital transformation?
Morning. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, everyone, for the invitation. I've been in the field probably between data, IP, and later on with digital transformation for the past 14 years. With Orange, a leader in the telecom market, I would say. If we focus and complement about what His Excellency and Dr. Ismail said, I would say we have different barriers that we can face, but I'll summarize them with different ways. Let's focus on probably two or three of them. Culture is a key in the digital transformation, or mindset, I would say. The need for change is there. You need to change recently, and the change is difficult. When you get used to something, even how you walk, how you go into your car, your normal activities, changing that is difficult and would take time. And you'll be finding people resistant to that and people willing to do so. And with digital transformation, where you break silos, where you have the decentralization of some decision-making and empowerment of the team, this is key. So that's not an easy. I would consider the barriers as strengths if we complete them and if we fulfill them, I would say. Culture is one thing, and you will face it, whether we like it or not. This is something that you'll face when you go into something new. And digital transformation by itself is a transformation. It's coming from something that you need to change. Second one would be the technology. With the recent changes in the market and the recent trends and the speed that we're going, technology is driving us into new stuff, into vast options that weren't available before, that were not achievable or sensible to the end customer. With that being said, technology is as strong as it is, can be a barrier to people along with its cost, I would say. When you have an initiative for digital transformation, whether small or big, you'll end up with the results. But technology might be a constraint or a barrier if not properly managed and controlled. With the data that it generates, with the, I would say, vulnerabilities that you might have, whether you go cloud, the cyber attacks that we're recently seeing. So with that, I would complement it with, I would say, a customer. Customer is always the end result. If a customer is happy, then you'll end up successfully transforming the way or the journey you're dealing with. So with the digital transformation, and specifically I would say in the telecom market as we're facing, customers are really in need for the change. And we're looking at customers adopting something that they are not trained for, or they're not accommodated with in a fraction of a second. So that, or these three barriers, if I would say, if we properly plan them, set the, I would say, the challenges aside, these three barriers could end up as strengths for the sector or for the organization achieving that digital transformation successfully. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Baptiste, you represent a large global organization. We're here in a conference that is focusing on AI and cybersecurity. Can you share with us what's the role of AI in cybersecurity as we face the global threats that we face today?
Yes, thank you. when I try to think about what has been done before when I was a pen tester maybe 10 years ago, and how I see the evolution and the impact of AI on cyber, I can probably extract three main lessons. The first one is 10 years ago, as a pen tester, we had already a lot of tools, and today I'm amazed by the automation, in fact, that is coming with AI. So, in fact, AI has really helped all the cyber analysts, especially within the Security Operations Center, to focus on value-added tasks instead of doing all the collection of data and so on. So today AI is really providing a very good support and not replacing the pool of talent we have. So automation is one lesson. Another impact is definitely the detection. As has been said yesterday, in terms of detection, the accuracy rate is now much more better with artificial intelligence models. We can even run different models in parallel, trying to put some algorithm in competition and understand better what happens thanks to running at the same time different algorithms. So detection is another impact of artificial intelligence in cyber. And another one, the third one for me is the self-learning capability of artificial intelligence is very important with the complexity of a multi-cloud and hybrid environment. So today we have, customers who have probably a multi-cloud environment, private, public, on-prem, hybrid, and so you need this kind of artificial intelligence support to really understand the business processes and detect what is normal and non-normal in your multi-cloud or complex environment. So I think those 3 points are really key compared to maybe 10 years, 15 years ago. Automation, detection, and complexity. This is really, for me, the great support of artificial intelligence in cyber.
Thank you, Baptiste. Your Excellency, can you share with us how the TRC is driving digital transformation within its own organization?
Now, as a TRC, we are leading transformation within the organization and within the telecom market. So within the organization, we have like Digital Transformation Committee. In this committee, we identified all the processes within all the directories that we have. So we identified the processes that we are following, how to implement these processes, and what is required to make this process, let's say, not only automated, transform. So we have a plan to have, let's say, 100% of the processes to be automated or transformed. But this plan is ongoing. Now we are defining we already transformed many of the services. I don't have the number of services that already transformed, and it was announced. And we have a plan to transform all the services to be automated and online and have interaction with the clients, either individuals or corporates, by online connection to the TRC. So this is as an internal process. For the external, like clients, operators, and individuals who are trying to work in digital transformation, we are facilitating let's say, the regulation and facilitating the instructions, how to introduce the new elements, new services, new devices that support the transformation. For the operators, we are working with the 5G licensing, that it will be a huge enabler for the digital transformation. Now, as a topic, we are saying digital transformation, but it will be enabler to different sectors, not only the telecom sector, not only the customers of the telecom sector. It will be an enabler to all sectors, like medical, health, education, industry, agriculture. So we are working hand in hand with the industry to facilitate the problems that we can face by the clients or by the companies. And we are pushing hard toward implementing 5G to have this platform and this infrastructure enabled for the digital transformation. And during that time, the companies are working with their clients to identify the right business cases or use cases to utilize the 5G once it's enabled. So there is a work in parallel between TRC and operators, and also there is a work between operators and their clients and with enterprises, different enterprises, to work with the use cases that could be successfully launched after the 5G is up and running, including the IoT, including the artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, different, and also cloud computing. You know that it will be enabling for all digital services. So I would like to add one thing. Here, as a topic for this conference, we have a focus on data. So we need to think about data from, I have definition of 4 angles of data. We have data in center, and we have how data is being created, and how data is being stored, and how data is being protected, and how data is being monetized and being analyzed. So in each corner of the square, we have a different service that could work and support the transformation process. So in the data creation, we have different data, government data, and private data, and client data, and citizens data that we need to be sure that data is being stored in the proper way. And where data is stored, we talk about the cloud solutions that we have in both government and private sectors, that they develop their cloud to store the data. And the third part, which is security, how to protect the data. So we are enabling, let's say, we are doing some tests for the networks, even the operators. Are they having penetration? We are doing some penetration tests for the operators to be sure that networks are protected from the cyber attacks. And we had feedback between us and the operators, and some reports from third party that who did tests for these networks and find vulnerabilities that could be done in the networks, and the resolution plans for them, and we have a timeline and agreement, and most of these issues were solved by the operators. And the fourth part, which is the monetization, that how to get the benefit of the data, how to monetize the data, how to make analytics for the data. This part is still, we are working together in the government to get the best of data, to get the monetized data. Let's say monetization here is not a commercial meaning maybe customer and citizen enhancement, citizen culture, citizen lifestyle to be better, services to be easier and quicker, so the client feel that he's satisfied with the service. So this is, as we mentioned in the beginning, it's a journey that we are going through this journey. We need to focus on the right vision for this journey and take the right elements with us and upgrade our tools to match that vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Ismail, as the president of HTU, you are educating the next generation of entrepreneurs and technical leaders. How do you cultivate a digital transformation mindset among your students and scholars?
Excellent question, AJ. I think for universities, first of all, to play a role, an active role in digital transformation, we have to pick up on the word transformation, and doesn't really mean gradual change. It means disruptive transformation. So universities have to transform to start with in order to be able to play an important role in digital transformation. For this to happen, I think the first thing we have to start with is the mindset. And in that, I mean, where do universities position themselves? At Al Hussein Technical University, we know our role and our position as a key player within the technology and innovation ecosystem. We see ourselves as part of this ecosystem, not separated from that. And we start by having our campus as an open campus within King Hussein Business Park, side by side to dozens of international and local companies, business incubators and accelerators, where our students from day one have direct contact with business and technology leaders. But speaking of transformation, I think universities have to be humble enough today to revisit the very basic assumptions upon which higher education has been based over the past, say, 100 years. I think we live today in a world that is witnessing the fourth industrial revolution, a world that is witnessing technological advancements that are taking place at a fast pace, at a pace that is unprecedented. And we cannot really continue with education, with our approaches, the same way we did 20 or 30 or even 40 years ago. We have to understand that we cannot teach everything for the students that they are going to need for the next 20 or 30 years. We have to understand, and we have to be humble enough to understand that we cannot realize our mission without real partnership with the technology leaders and with the business sector. And when I say partnership, I mean partnership. Dr. Mu'taz, a few minutes ago, mentioned the need to close the gap between the skill or the skill gap between the graduates and the market demand. And we fully agree that this gap exists now and has to be closed. And this is why today we are having many practitioners taking an active role in designing, developing the curriculum at Al Hussein Technical University, in mentoring students, in offering apprenticeship for the students. All of our students have to go through an 8-month apprenticeship with the private sector as a condition for graduation. They do this after their third year. We're having also an incubator where we are incubating 17 tech startups. Some of them are present with us today. And the approach that we are adopting and we are embracing is an approach that is based on practical and project-based learning. We cannot keep and to continue speaking about teaching. Today the world is changing, and in order to enable our students or our learners to be ready for the future opportunities, they have to be active learners. They cannot be active learners in the traditional approach of teaching. As instructors, I see our roles as facilitators of learning. People learn, humans learn through practicing, doing. It is not acceptable to find today a graduate from a university after 4 years studying computer science, and he or she has never written a code, because all what they were going through is exams, MCQ questions, and so on. This is exactly why we abolished MCQ exams in Al Hussein Technical University. We're focusing now on projects, assignments that reflect real-life scenarios. We have to prepare our learners for the needs of the market. We have to prepare them to be active learners, to learn on their own, because whatever we're giving them today at the university is going to be, in my opinion, obsolete in I don't know, 10 years' time, maybe faster than that. It has to go back to the mindset to embrace change and transformation as a philosophy for the institution itself.
Thank you, Professor. No exams, wow, for HTU students. What a refreshing concept here. I had the privilege of visiting Professor Ismail, and I got the chance to actually visit the incubator. And I got to tell you, as a company that was a product of collaboration between academia, Caltech, the U.S. government, and the private industry, I really like what's going on at HTU. Very impressive. I like the program, and congratulations, Professor. Nicola, if we can switch to you, can you share with us, what do you think is the digital transformation strategy that can make the biggest impact? And what industries do you see having the strongest motivation to achieve such transformation?
Thank you, Agent. First of all, I'd go back to university if there were no exams, actually. I would definitely do that.
Do you take exams or no exams?
Without, for sure.
You're most welcome.
Actually, I would say, AJ, that transformation, and more specifically digital transformation, has no boundaries or I would say restrictions or limitations to any industry. I would say any industry that is serving the consumer market or even B2B, B2C would be a success if they implement the digital transformation at their scale. If you go even small or go mass, you will end up resulting in a change and a better, I would say, experience and operating model. I'll give an example at Orange. We looked at it 4 years ago, where we started our digital transformation, looking at it at several ways, whether internally or externally facing the customer. With the technologies that are available, with the RPA, with the AI, with the customer first, I would say, into the change, into the need, along with the changes that we have around us worldwide. There was a clear demand and a clear strategy to move on with digital transformation. And specifically for the telecom sector, with the vast customer base that you have, it's a good way. That doesn't restrict to telecom. If you look right now, we have financial sector, the health sector also embracing that. So most of the sectors, I would say, whether large, small, are, I would say, they have the door to proceed with the digital transformation. If we look at it with the past few years, we see that the customers, they look to have their products delivered at their doorstep, I would say. They're not moving around, and it was amplified with the COVID, I would say, with the pandemic. And it's a trend that will not go back to what was done before. People will get used to having things delivered, done with the simplest and easiest way at their doorstep. That would be complemented, I would say. I know I might be shifting to an eKYC solution. Knowing your customer without having the physical signature or the physical presence, I would say. It complements a perfect customer experience. You have the data, you have the infrastructure, you have the technology, and you have the need to do that. So complementing it here, and I'm sure that probably His Excellency would complement that we're on the right track in achieving the eKYC here in Jordan. That overall would result probably in a successful, again, digital transformation market, digital transformation strategy for that organization regardless of the sector. It's open to anyone. You need to have a clear vision and expectations to what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Baptiste, I want to ask you a question. It's one of my favorite subjects, which is the human element. How do you see the human element affecting AI and digital transformation strategies? Share with us the risks and rewards that you see within your industry.
Yeah. So I would like maybe first to build on what the professor just said about this growth mindset. In education, it's very important. And I think it is exactly what the professor described in terms of new ways of learning. And so we have also to understand that the learning part will not stop at the university, at the end of the university. It is a journey for all of us to learn continuously. And when we see the unemployment, even for those who are not the Generation Z but are older, we need always to reinvent ourselves, to learn. And I think this human element will be very true in front of AI. So in the coming years, we will all have to use AI in our jobs, disregarding our age, and so we will have to learn. And it will be very necessary to have this growth mindset first. The second point, in terms of impact of human element in AI, is definitely we all need to understand the why. Digital transformation is not just something we have to do for the sake of digital transformation. We need to have change management. We need to explain to people why they do it, why we need some kind of algorithm to complement their task. And especially the new generation, the why, the sense of direction is very important. And it can be a barrier if we don't really explain why we do it. So I think it's an important KPI, I would say, or important element, especially in the digital age. You can rate the application by its adoption. Okay, so the adoption is definitely the new way of rating a mobile application or any kind of application. So the why will be very important. And finally, in our industry, in the defense and security industry, it's really important for any kind of organization to have in-house pool of talent to understand and to manipulate those kind of new technology. Not only to rely on external providers, large corporations or foreign agencies. So this morning, for instance, I visited the booth of PSD, and I was very impressed by their in-house development. So when you grow such a workforce internally, you are much more able to leverage digital transformation strategy because you understand the underlying technologies and you can really apply it for business processes. So I would say in defense organization, to use this word, the sovereignty of the organization is to have in-house pool of people that can really manage those projects and not relying too much on an external nation or large corporation. So it's more a public-private partnership, and the public part should be very rooted with internal developers communities that can really manage those projects.
Thank you. So great to see such refreshing age and focusing on Generation Z. I remember when I graduated from college, I was told my job was to basically make my boss look like a hero. Now I'm the CEO of my company, and I was told my job to please Generation Z. Wow. I envy you, by the way. Let me I'd like to just ask each one of you to give your thoughts in terms of digital transformation, and if you can just talk specifically about Jordan and the region. Your Excellency, we'll start with you.
Actually, Jordan is well known in the region as a matter of strong resources. And we need to focus here to get the best of our resources to enhance our organizations. We are excellent in working as individuals, but we are not reaching the same, let's say, expert or the same experience in the organization level. We need to transfer our personal experience to our organizations. Actually, I did not introduce myself at the beginning because I started speaking about digital transformation. Actually,
you don't need introduction.
No, just to highlight that I worked outside Jordan for 12 years. During these 12 years, I had the chance to work with big vendors around the world working in this region. So the lesson that I learned from those organizations that when you have a capability, when you have a knowledge, they will utilize it in the proper way. So you enhance your organization, and you'll keep growing and empowering your organization, and be an influencer in your organization. This is the thing that I would like to have in our government, in the private sector, in any company that is working in Jordan. We have huge resources, as Dr. Ismail mentioned, that they have millennium generation or Generation Z. That these students are well enabled from digital transformation, knowledge, strategy, about background, about theory, that they know they have the tools how to work with data, how to work with cyber security. Now we have a way of coming that we need to utilize these resources in the proper way. We don't need these resources to have a leakage in the region. Now let's look to the successful example in the world. We don't talk about region, about world. Let's talk about Estonia, let's talk about Poland, and about East European countries, and let's talk about Singapore. These are three successful countries. Let's focus about Estonia and Singapore. Estonia was, let's say, get rid of the Soviet Union in the 1990s, 30 years ago. Their population is 1.2 million. That's all. They have more than 10,000 startup companies, became commercial, and they have around market value more than 10 billion. Let's say about these startup companies. So they are focusing in the beginning on the education, like Dr. Ismail mentioned that. They are building the capabilities for the students. The next step is to utilize these capabilities, not to make them unorganized. Yesterday we talked about swarm intelligence, that we need to get the best of intelligence by human and by machine. And we need to have a swarm organization, that we need to get the best of students with the benefits of the companies in the region. We don't need that students work in companies like a bridge to reach another place or to go to another place. It's time to build our country. It's time to get the benefit of our resources to enhance our country. So we need to focus on the coming 5 years to integrate the students with the proper companies and with the proper, let's say, incubators, with the proper institutes that could get the best of the students to enhance our country. And this is valid for both private sector and government sector. I don't speak that government doesn't need this and private have enough. No, even private sector. Comparing 10 years ago to now, Jordan resources were much better than now. Much of them went outside to the region or overseas. So we need to think about attracting the people. I would like to think about Korean, let's say, they have an example. Because I work with Korean companies, so I learned from them many lessons. Korea in 1985, most of the laborers were dreaming to go outside Korea to work. So at that time they had a big change in the government strategy and government policy and education systems. So they changed their systems to be attractive for the people instead of having people going outside. The mean of attraction here, offering good position, offering good compensations, and offering clear roadmap for the workers to build their countries. We need to think the same. This is a very critical time that we need to get the best of our resources. Jordan have very huge capabilities and very prestigious resources that they could be successful anywhere. And you are one of our successful examples. You work in NASA and you work in different places. And I have been to NASA in 2004 and I met different Jordanians. So we have huge capabilities, we need to utilize them. So our focus in this summit to make partnership between military part and the private sector to get the best of resources. We don't need to stick to the classical models that military people are doing their military job and private sectors are doing their private job, and there is no interaction between them. We could get the best, let's say, they call it group intelligence. Instead of single, instead of narrow intelligence, we could have general and wide intelligence, even in our database. As mentioned, Dr. Martez, that we could get the best of their data when integrating different entities. So it's time now not to have knowledge more. We have a knowledge. Not to think about knowledge only. We need to think about business models. We need to think about organization structure. We need to think about culture to get the best of our resources. So I think this place is a good place to interact between different peoples. I'm happy to meet with the professor from university and people from international vendors and people from local operators and local or international operators who are working hand in hand in the same market. So the focus of this summit now is to get the best of resources and to make a clear roadmap. My wish to have a clear roadmap for all the students who are at the universities to get the best of them. We need to have a vision for the students. We don't need to have all universities have, for example, data science engineers, artificial intelligence engineers. What is next? It's we have digital transformation is not an aim. We have it like a roadmap that we need to follow and to get the best of our resources. Sorry for having long speak, but this is my vision. I would like to mention it.
Thank you. Great vision. Professor, your thoughts?
I share the same ideas that His Excellency Engineer Bilal mentioned. But in Jordan, we do have a habit of criticizing and looking at the negative side of things. But I keep saying we have very good stories to tell at HTU. Part of the stories that I'm going to tell very briefly, we do have today a network of 70 plus business partners for Aidtsec Technical Universities, where we place our students in apprenticeship opportunities with these business partners. And in most of the cases, and in many of the cases, those employers come back and say, we want to employ those young people. We are also proud of our partnership with the Jordanian Armed Forces. We are also very proud of our partnership with the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship. And through our partnership, I can be very proud today to say that 50 of our resources, students and upskilling graduates are working with the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship on digital transformation projects with different ministries. And we have some of those students who have actually contributed in an amazing manner to the digital transformation efforts in different ministries and different departments. And this is an open invitation to all universities, to all institutions, to partner with government entities, with the armed forces, with the private sector, to open pathways for employment and pathways to capitalize on the human capital we're preparing in universities. Another good story is the upskilling programs that we have, the ICT upskilling program. This year we have graduated 500 upskilling graduates in 21 different tracks with support from the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship. Those young people are graduates who graduated 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and they couldn't find an employment opportunity. After attending a 3-month program at HTU in partnership with different technology providers that we host in HTU, 70% of those find employment within 3 months. And to that point, I will come to the conclusion. It is unacceptable today for Jordan to say that we have 30,000 unemployed young men and young women in ICT with all the opportunities that we have. We clearly have a problem. The problem, part of it is with the universities, part of it with the lack of a clear path or an incubation policy for those young people, and we have to address this. We have a huge pool of talent. We have an amazing young nation, and we have to look back and see how we can capitalize on this. I agree that human capital of Jordan is the most essential asset that we have in this country. And we have to focus on educating people the proper way and opening pathways for young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I agree with you. Inshallah, there is demand in the market globally, and I agree with you. I think the human capital in Jordan is tremendous, and I see Jordan being a hub and playing a role at the global stage. Let's transition now to the private industry. Your thoughts.
Thank you, AJ. I would put it in simple words. I would say think big, start small, break your roadmap, break your vision to small chunks. Try it out at the beginning and then go mass. It's something that helps you as digital transformation might be I would say several parallel paths that you need to take in your journey. So break it up into steps, try it out, and then go mass. I'd complement what Professor Smaid said. We're in need for new skills and new competencies. We have it in Jordan. We have human capital. I would say overall, we look at it as a school. Everyone who we have what do you mean by school? Everyone leaving or moving to the region is an asset. So why not at least retain them here in the market? Because we know that they're succeeding outside and they're extremely efficient outside. So why not retain them in the market? Keep these competencies, keep these skills. In the past 3 or 4 years, we onboarded more than, I would say, 30 maybe new skills/competencies that were not available before. So we know the demand again. We know the need, and we have human capital, as Professor said. That with the vision that you have, with the technologies, with the rapid changes, with the worldwide changes that we're seeing, and a business-led vision to serve the customer need and thirst, will end up in a successful, solid outcome for the country and that industry. At the end, it yields results for the country before the industry itself or the organization. I know I was a bit fast, but trying to be straight to the point. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. You represent a global organization, but we're interested in your local perspectives. You represent the MEA region, please.
Yeah. So I learned yesterday actually that indeed, as you say, Jordan is a hub. So for Microsoft, for instance, we have a hub who serve global services, global customers. So I learned that yesterday. I was very impressed by what my colleague said about the 300 colleagues who are working globally, but from Jordan. So it's quite impressive. At the state level, what we see is